The greatest gift that you can give to Yah is your obedience. Hi, this is Barry Phillips, a 10-minute Torah, day number 3 of the Torah portion, Pekudei. Let's go further into the book of Exodus, or Shemot, into chapter number 39, and let's read verses 32 and 33. And all the work of the dwelling place of the tent of appointment was completed, and the children of Israel did according to all that Yahweh had commanded Moshe, so they did. And they brought the dwelling place to Moshe, the tent and all of its furnishings, its board, its hooks, its boards, its bars, its columns, and its sockets, and etc. And it continues to follow. So they brought it all to Moshe. What did Moshe want with it? Now you might think, well, that's a sarcastic question. But literally, why did Moshe want the furnishings and the completed implements of the Mishkan, or the tabernacle? You see, if we go back just a little bit, let's go back to chapter number 33. And let's begin reading with verse number 7. And Moshe took his tent and pitched it outside the camp, far from the camp, and called it the tent of appointment. That phrase there in Hebrew is the Ohel Moed. Ohel being tent, Moed meaning an appointed time. And it came to be that everyone who sought Yahweh went out to the tent of appointment, which was outside the camp. And it came to be whenever Moshe went out to the tent that all the people rose, and each man stood at his tent door and watched Moshe until he entered into the tent. And it came to be when Moshe entered the tent that the column of cloud descended and stood at the door of the tent, and he spoke with Moshe. And all the people saw the column of cloud standing at the tent door, and the people rose and bowed themselves, each one at the door of his tent. Thus Yahweh spoke to Moshe face to face, as a man speaks to his friend. And he would return to the camp, but his servant Yehoshua the son of Nun, a young man, did not leave the tent. So, again, the question, when they brought all of the furnishings, the tapestries, the sockets, the boards, when they brought all of the building construction materials of this tabernacle to Moshe, what did he want it for? Did he want it? Again, I'm not being sarcastic, but let's examine this. The understanding is that Moshe already had a place where he personally and privately could go and meet with Yah and speak to him face to face. Matter of fact, the event of Moshe entering into this tent was so significant that the protocol of the entire nation of Israel was to stand at each man at the door of his tent and watch until Moshe entered in. There they would see the approving factor that the column of the cloud of Yah would then stand at the door, and Yah would speak to Moshe. When Moshe came out, we later read how that there was glory so intense upon his face that he had to put a veil over his face. So if Moshe already had this private chamber, this extraordinary opportunity to go and to convene and commune with Yah privately and by himself, what did he need the tabernacle for? If we want to be blunt and blatantly honest, on a personal basis, Moshe really didn't need the tabernacle. He had the benefits of the tabernacle already provided for him. But it was important to Moshe for 2 reasons. The first of all being obedience. Why did he want the building materials and the finished implements? Because Yah had requested them. And so he took them on as that which would be obedience and pleasurable and agreeable to the Most High, and he made sure that the work was done. Now, as we continue to read in chapter number 39, at the end of the chapter we read this. And Moshe looked over all the work and saw they did as Yahweh has commanded, so they had done. And Moshe blessed them. Well done. Good job. This is right. You've done correctly. There is favor and blessing on what you have accomplished. With that understanding, then, Moshe has to be thinking in his mind, at least a little bit, my private place, my personal place is fading away. Now that there is a corporate place for the presence of Yah, my private place for meeting with Him will no longer be allowed. Later on in the Torah, we read that we are not allowed to build personal private altars at our own home. Now, that is not to say that you and I, where we are living as we are now, that we can't pray in our homes. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a place where you would offer up sacrifices, place an animal on a grate and cause it to be consumed before Yah. The understanding there is that there's only to be one place of offering of sacrifice. Everyone uses the same altar. Therefore, there's only one priesthood that can serve that altar, and only one set of protocols and procedures that are acceptable at that altar. Wherever we build our own private altars, we become the priest of our altar, and we deem what is correct and right as we approach the altar, how we are to serve Him at our own private altar. In other words, it's similar to what Moshe was accomplishing at the tent, the private tent that he had, and that is, I do it my way, or I have this private thing going on. What we do in private is important. It has a lot to say. It has a lot of bearing on how we walk before Him. But even more so, it's important that we understand how we walk corporately. This is a major shift for those who live in Western mindset nations like the United States, where the struggle of the individual, the accomplishment of the individual, a rugged individualistic mindset is applauded and focused on. Rather, we're needing to think more corporately. Let's call it community. Now, we're not talking about communism here. We're talking about the benefit of the community. That is family. The family is not an individual. It's a group of individuals who function for the benefit of one another as in a community type setting. So the benefit of all of this building material coming before Moshe, that he can approve of it, it means now the next step is to put it together, assemble it, and see that Yah will bless it and cause His presence to abide in it. If that happens, then Yah is not just camping out with an individual. Yah is now dwelling with the nation. It's important that we begin to focus on, in our prayer lives, not just bless me, Father, and then praying for the individuals that we know that are in need of healing or deliverance or financial needs or whatever, but that we pray for the corporate body, even if that includes people that we disagree with. Just because your perspective and your belief may be different than someone else doesn't mean that Yah disapproves of them. Who knows? He may be more approving of them than you or me. So we pray for them. We bless them. Even if they do it differently, if they pronounce things differently, observe things differently, they're still a part of the same body. We're still accountable to each other. And it's more important that the whole nation catch a glimpse and an impact and an encounter with the Most High than we in our own little private prayer chambers. It has to get bigger than that. We'll pick up here again tomorrow and go a little further. Until then, shalom.